transport with self-reported minor injuries. I can't provide any further updates or information on the extent of their injuries, but to the extent that we do know, there have been 4 individuals with some extent of injury. Presently, and I should note that there has never been fire with this incident. It was the reported explosion, no fire upon our arrival. Through the search and rescue efforts, we did not locate any additional victims of the incident, and right now we've got our heavy urban rescue team on scene working to shore up the extent of the building here to allow us to gain further access to do a secondary search on the remaining portions of the interior of the building. This will be a slow, methodical process, and we'll be here throughout the night working through that, and then we'll start a heavy investigation working in conjunction with the Madison Police Department as well. At this point, I can take any questions you might have, and I do apologize as the information is somewhat limited as we're early into the incident.
Have you ruled out that there may be other people inside, or do you need to show us to get notified?
I think at this point the best information I can give you is that every bit of our search through the structure to this point has not identified any other folks. We do not have any reports of people missing, and we haven't seen any other obvious evidence of potential folks inside. But again, our intent will be here until we can verify that, and we'll be here as long as that takes. Presently, there are none, and previous, I can't speak to that accurately.
What time did the calls come in for dispatch?
Call came in at 17:54, and we were on scene at 17:58.
Gas explosion?
We don't want to speculate at this time. There were initial reports of an odor, but that was after the explosion, so that could have been the result of the explosion. So it's far too early to speculate.
And it looks like bad damage, but can you give an assessment of how bad it is?
Yeah, and as you can see up close, certainly one of the units, you can see the origin, what we believe to be the origin of the explosion. The entire structure here will not be habitable.
Do you know how many units were affected?
At this point, at least 6. There's another building behind it with subsequent damage as well, and we're working to evaluate how many of those units will be ultimately impacted.
Can you recall having to respond to a situation like this, or is this pretty out of the norm for you all?
It's certainly a rare incident. We have had a few over the last 10 years in the city, but it's very infrequent, and throughout Dane County as well. Occasionally they happen, but infrequent.
Can you speak to the families that are going to be out of their homes tonight because accommodations been set up for them?
Absolutely. We've got Amy Lampy with our Occupant Services Unit is on scene here, and the primary responsibility is to make sure that we can serve the families affected. We'll work hand in hand with the American Red Cross and make sure that we can provide resources in the immediate need and make sure to provide immediate sheltering as well.
Do you have an estimate of how many are displaced by this? How many people?
I don't want to speculate to that extent. Madison Police as well as our own folks are working to gather the total number. We can provide those numbers probably within the next hour.
What departments responded to this incident?
Initial dispatch was Madison Police and Madison Fire. We have had additional law enforcement to support us. Madison Gas and Electric are here, and then we'll have additional investigators joining us as well.
Oh, just looking over, can you talk about how long this road might be closed down? Quite a few hours, I think.
It'll certainly be closed for at least the next 3 to 4 hours. We'll always try to minimize our impact, and we'll try to start moving units off the scene. Right now, what you'll see in the middle of the roadway is our heavy urban rescue team, and they need some room to set up, and that's what they're working on with the shoring, so they can continue on with the search and rescue.
So they're literally building frames to keep it up so you can search it right now?
Exactly. They'll build up support structures and work their way in a methodical process as they can get further in. But I will emphasize our crews did a phenomenal job. They've been upstairs, they've gone in the second story through ladder access, and have made it to the very extent that we can possibly get to. They did a phenomenal job.
Can you speak to the risk of kind of going into the building before it is completely shored up?
Yeah, but with any structural scenario such as this, the integrity of the building's at risk, and until we're able to do a thorough assessment, it's an incredibly risky situation to be inside. Our folks assume that risk, but we do it in an educated manner. We do it methodically.
Can you list some of the precautions you're taking knowing there may be risks you're not aware of?
Sure. So the electricity to the building's been shut down. Natural gas to the building has been shut down. And then with that, it's the structural shoring that goes on as they work their way through. Of course. we don't know about any activities that may or may not have been going on. Madison Police will help us with that investigation. Our investigators will work on that. As we get more information available, we'll share it. I think at this point it'd be pure speculation. We wouldn't want to go that route. Yeah, and that's a great question. Certainly, whenever there's an explosion, that's the first thing that we do want to rule out. Any source of natural gas, LP gas, or any other products that could combine and do something like that. So we've got a list of things that we'll look out, and we typically do the very same thing. One after the next, we'll look at all the facts, we'll put them together, we'll rule things in, rule things out, and narrow it down. So I just want to be very cautious and not jump to any conclusions this early on.
So class it as an explosion or explosion.
I think we'll call it an explosion based upon the reports of the people and the way it was called in.
Yeah.
That's the way it was described to us. I think certainly the visual evidence would support that. But again, in terms of the causative factors, we'll have to put things together.
Can I get your name?
Sure. Chris Carbon. We'll be here throughout the night. Please reach out. We'll try to come back on a periodic basis and give you any additional information that we have. Appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I've never seen this before where the firemen are actually building supports.
It's
Is it like carpentry class?
Hi, everyone. That was Madison Fire Chief Chris Carbon commenting on the explosion on Madison Southwest side. Right now, we know that the crews came to the scene at around 6:54 this evening, and they are calling it a house explosion. Let me see the notes that I just took from this press conference. 12 different units responded, including Madison Police, Madison Fire, Madison Gas and Electric. One person was transported by crews to a hospital. Injuries of that person are unknown right now, according to the fire chief. And then 3 other people self-transported, drove themselves to local hospitals for minor injuries. So in total, we know right now that 4 people were injured in some capacity in this house explosion. In the first sweep that investigators and crews did of the scene, they did not find any other people injured, no other people within the apartment unit. And right now, they don't know the cause of the explosion. They said they did get an initial call about an odor, but they do not want to speculate that that is the cause just yet. They're going to start by looking at natural gas. They said they'll start and see if natural gas was the cause. Again, they didn't say if that was it, but they will start, and they have a checklist that they're going to go down trying to see what caused this explosion in this apartment complex that he said damaged about 6 different units. They said there was an obvious unit, a point of the explosion that they will be investigating thoroughly. Right now, they are working with the American Red Cross to try and help all of the people displaced. The fire chief said there were about 12 units that were damaged, that people have been displaced. And of course, you know, there were several different buildings here, and the American Red Cross is working with people right now to try and get them the shelter, the clothing, the medication, everything that they do need since they have been displaced from their home. Again, roads will be closed for the next few hours. It was on Gammon. One of the roads was Gammon. It's on Madison Southwest side. Let me look again. Madison Fire and Madison Police are still investigating. They're going to be there for several hours tonight. We do have 2 crews from NBC 15 on the scene right now, collecting all the information, talking with neighbors, talking with officials, trying to collect ring camera footage so that we can see kind of exactly what led up to this explosion. I know that our crews on scene asked, was there any suspicion of foul play or activity? And again, the police said and the fire chief said they do not want to speculate at this time what caused this explosion. That's a good point. The fire chief said that there was no fire when they arrived on scene. It was simply an explosion. So fire crews did not have to put out any fires. There wasn't any when they got onto the scene. Yeah, right now we do know that crews will be there for several hours. And here's the roads. It's Gammon Road. and Park Ridge Drive, and that is on the southwest side of Madison. And again, this explosion happened just before 6 p.m. and 4 people were injured. 1 person was transported by police and the fire department to a hospital. 3 others self-transported, took themselves to the hospital with minor injuries. Our crews will be on scene for the rest of the night, and we will bring you live coverage on our 9 o'clock show on the CW, as well as NBC 15 News at 10. So please tune in for any more information. Also follow us on social media, as well as NBC15.com for the latest. Thank you so much.